Hello, everyone, and welcome to Badger Pod Nerdcast number 24, The Horns of Legend. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and before we get right into this topic, we're going to quickly go around and introduce all of the panelists that we have for today's discussion about the 1985 film Legend by Ridley Scott. First, we have Allison Tiemann. Allison?
Hi, I'm Allison. I am the progenitor of this show, I guess we could call it that. That's not too egotistical. And I also do a webcomic, which is an adult science fiction called Xenospora, which has been described as sexiness meets weirdness in space, which is sort of cool, and I'll send it back to Brian. Enough about me.
Okay, cool. And we also have Hannah Wallen. Hannah?
Hi, I'm Hannah Wallen, author of Breaking the Glasses at breakingtheglasses.blogspot.com. And I also write for the Honey Badger website and A Voice for Men. And I will throw it back to Brian.
Cool, thanks, Hannah. And next we have Mad Cat. Mad Cat, please.
Hi, I'm Mad Cat. I'm an author, site admin for GoodGuyComics.com, as well as moderator for the forum, which is a safe place for men, but all genders are welcome. I also do videos as the Angry Egalitarian and also write articles for the Honey Badgers.
Okay, thank you, Mad Cat. And next we have Dr. Randomer Cam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Randomer Cam, not to be confused with a real doctor or the doctor or the doctor. I'm just the bad doctor. And I mean, you can find me at Dr. Randomer Cam on YouTube, exactly as it sounds like it's spelt. Go now.
Actually, it's not exactly, because it's not DR, it's full word doctor. That's sort of crucial.
Interesting bit of trivia. You know, Allison's notoriously bad at pronouncing names, and my name's notoriously hard to pronounce. Allison's never got my name wrong, ever.
Oh my god.
Just saying.
Feels.
Sometimes space just warps into itself in bizarre ways. Oh, I'm wasting time. Carry on, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. Lastly, we have Rachel Edwards. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Edwards, and I'm the one who is cat blocking Allison in the ad. And you can find more weirdness and all kinds of shit posting on my blog at naughtynerdess.tumblr.com. Just saying. I'll do the thing, I promise.
All right, and that's okay. And I'm Brian. I didn't mention before, I do the webcomic Good Guy, and feel free to visit the Good Guy forums and discuss stuff. I'm going to be sharing some of all of the topping points for Nerdcasts and also the Badger Pod Gamergate stuff on the forums as well, so that we can continue the discussion there. So please visit that space if you so choose. All right, so we're going to get right into it. And we have separate readings done by different members of the panel here dealing with the film Legend. The first one I'm going to hand it off to is Rachel. Rachel, why don't you talk about Legend?
oh, this movie. This is this is going to get interesting. All right. When director Ridley Scott set out to create an old-fashioned fairy tale, he did so in the movie Legend. On the surface, it might seem a simple there-and-back-again tale with little direction or complexity, but you'd be wrong. There are at least 4 different cuts of the film, with the director's cut being a very different tale than that of the theatrical release. It is with both of these in mind that I present to you the true theme of Legend. In the beginning, you have the Lord of Darkness sending his goblin Blix to search for innocence as bait for the unicorns he seeks to destroy. Unicorns being the embodiment of God on Earth and the bridge between God and man. Going in, we assume that Princess Lily must be the one who is innocent and pure of heart and spirit, but Lily is flawed in many ways that become important later. She is selfish, manipulative, and greedy. These attributes are more pronounced in the director's cut, where within minutes of the character's introduction, we find Lily stealing food and playing pranks on a common lady who lives on the edge of the forest. She lies to Jack about stealing the cookies she brings him, saying that she made them herself, only to admit her fib moments later. She turns on her charms, leading Jack on and boasting on how quick a study she is. Most importantly, Lily is ruled by lust. Most people identify lust with sex, but it need only be an overwhelming desire. Up until Jack breaks the laws of the forest to show Lily the unicorns, Her sins seem minor, but in the moment that looking isn't enough, we see how much lust has gotten the better of her. In the theatrical release, Jack and Lily have implied sex in the woods, so what happens next has different meanings depending on what version you're watching. Lily walks from the place they are hiding and has to touch the unicorn. Looking isn't enough for her, and she cares nothing for the unwritten laws of the forest. In true Disney princess fashion, Lily sings to calm the charging unicorn, and in touching it, she weakens the purity of the creature enough for it to be attacked. By this point, it is clear that Lily's gift is seduction. She seduces all with her facade of purity, including the unicorn. Jack is troubled by the way in which they've broken the rules, but she calms him like the unicorn with her singing. Being naive of her gifts, she flippantly plays with Jack's emotions, setting a challenge for him in the form of a ring, saying that if he can retrieve it, he can marry her. Then all at once she realizes the weight of her actions as the world is covered in winter, and Jack places his life in peril for the chance to be with her. It is here where Jack and Lily's paths diverge, as Lily wanders the winter wasteland as a fallen woman, and Jack is forced into a leadership position. Being pure of heart, Jack is the only one truly capable of being the unicorn's champion. He, unlike Lily, thinks to ask the unicorn for forgiveness, and in doing so is cleared of his sin against them. Even so, both Lily and Jack are forced into a state of penitence, where they must redeem themselves. Jack pays through his heroism, while Lily's redemption comes through her using her charms to trick the Lord of Darkness. Ultimately, Lily's growth, at the end of the director's cut, is in realizing that she is not nearly as sweet as she thought, that there is a darkness within herself that she was previously unable to see, a darkness that she alone must keep at bay. Like any good fairy tale, it has a moral, which is that corruption is not always a visible leap into darkness. Often it is made up of small sins, one at a time, that at first don't seem to matter, but then build and build. Lily's lust for life went from virtue to vice quite quickly as she began to covet that which is not hers. In doing so, she violated the laws laid out between God and man, mortal and immortal. The ones who often seem the most pure are equally as capable of corruption. So that's what I've written, but and that's the thing. Within this film is a very religious, very traditional Christian idea of spiritual purity. Not necessarily completely in body. It doesn't necessarily have to be associated with body. It is more like in spirit. And you see that there is a lot of things going on with Lily that you think, okay, they're minor sins at first. But the moment she crosses the line, you see how easily those things can, lead to something bigger. I'm getting distracted by the fuckers next door, my crazy neighbors who like to do shit in their backyard. So you guys take this from me.
All right. Well, my take on the whole innocence thing, and I know that Lily was supposed to be portrayed as the movie's innocent who was corrupted. But I really don't think she was. I don't think she was, even from the very beginning of the movie, an innocent person. And from the very beginning of the movie, you could see that she was impulsive and selfish and solipsistic. Everything was about Lily. She was more interested in her own experiences and her own feelings than she was anything else. Where if you look at Jack, he seems a bit more innocent. And when I first started thinking about this, I thought, well, obviously, Jack is the innocent and Lily is not. But then as you go through the movie, even he has some flaws in that he doesn't really consider his actions. And it was just as selfish for him to introduce her to the unicorns as it was for her to want to touch the unicorn. He was breaking laws too. And it really seems to me that this movie is sort of an explanation that innocence is an illusion, and there is none. That everybody has something that will, a flaw that will lead them to doing harm to others or facilitating harm. And where maybe Jack's sin wasn't as obvious as Lily's, being the guy that hung out with her all the time and being the guy that sees her behavior all the time, he would have had the opportunity to realize what he was exposing the unicorns to. So if the unicorns represent purity, Jack was putting them at risk, and he had to know that, at least a little bit, and ignore it. And that's my take on it, that there is no innocence. There's only the illusion of innocence, and you have to strive to be the better person, or the best person that you can be. And everybody has their darkness to fight.
There was a moment near the end of the film where he's got where she's got the unicorn by the chains and he's got sort of an arrow trained on it, and he goes, "I trust you, Lily." Why is that? Why is that, Jack? Isn't this
After
did this
everything
whole
she
shit
did.
happen because she can't be trusted?
Yeah.
But
It's true,
Yeah.
and the thing about it is that I think the weird thing about it is that you see that Jack is, yeah, I do agree, Jack is not completely pure, and he does mess up, and he is flawed, and he was flawed in his feelings for her, and I think he was very aware of that because he didn't want to return her kiss when she kissed him, and she's, you know, coming on to him and stuff like that, and he's like, because I'm afraid you'll break my heart. And he sort of has, he knows definitely that there are things that she does that seem almost innocent, you know, that they're minor sins. But yeah, it's pretty bad. And the thing about it is that if the unicorns are indeed the bridge between God and man, and he did ask them for forgiveness, and his actions there from that point on are his penitence, then it's almost like he has paid what was due.
There you have the difference between an innocent heart and a good heart. An innocent heart would not have had those flaws to begin with. A good heart strives to overcome them.
Mm.
What I wanted to look at was why the ending where he has to save her by fulfilling her childish challenge. That sort of rang false to me. Did that ring false to anybody else? Like, that didn't seem like It felt more like she needed to do something, not him.
The thing about it is I think that I don't think she actually really meant that she was really going to marry him when she did that, because you saw how freaked out she was that he actually did it. And you can tell that, you know, things like little trinkets like that ring don't mean much to her at all. I don't think she really meant that. She really thought he would do it.
I also think the scene earlier when she was, I don't know what she was. Was she a handmaiden, a nanny? I know she was a peasant woman. But she was talking about how she needs to stop acting like a child and, you know, find a man to marry, and she was very resistant to that idea. So I think that scene with the ring and then her freaking out was her basically saying, well, I'm going to make this impossible condition that no one's going to marry me because I don't want to get married, and then she got surprised when he chased after it.
Well, I think well, she might have also been concerned for her safety, and she didn't expect him to do that. I found the beginning of the movie to be a little bit muddled. I think they could have, even the director's cut was, I think they could have clarified something, like gotten the rhythm of it better, because it felt like it was going in several directions at once. You know, you have the unicorn being darted, and then all this dark stuff happening, and then the continuing stuff going on with Jack and Lily. I don't know, it felt like there was some conflicts. Did anybody else get that sense that it was just like it didn't have a really strong one central theme in the beginning, and there were some conflicting stuff?
There was definitely a central theme, though. I mean, it was all setting up for this. I mean, if you think about it in terms of Lily's small sins, and you see them starting to build from the moment that you see her, it's sort of building to that action where she goes too far, where you have this recreation of original sin. That this was supposed to be the unwritten law that man was not meant to break, and she gives no fucks.
I guess what I'm saying is not necessarily the scenes that are leading up to that, but immediately after, it seems to lose a lot of that dramatic potency by wittering it away on more of Jack and Lily and you know, the forced sort of love affair thing.
Did you manage to watch to the point where? So what part did you get to? I know you didn't get so far in the director's cut, because they add a great deal onto the interaction between Gump and Jack, where there's a price to be paid, and he almost got killed by fairies. He almost got killed by fairies.
I saw that, and I'm like, first of all, it seems like
Totally flawed.
that should have been something that she had to deal with, not Jack. It's another thing that it seems like Jack really got the worst of it in this particular scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree that he got the worst of it, but I think he got the most direct brunt of it. She had to face the consequences of her actions. She had to see firsthand what her actions cost. So going back to the cottage and seeing everything frozen, I think was part of that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that she may have seen the cost, but she wasn't as instrumental to rectifying it as Jack was. She didn't have to make the same physical sacrifice that he did. I mean, really, what did she do?
Not until the very end.
Not until the very end.
She went underground and sort of slowly worked her way towards the boss, while Jack sort of fought his way through all the little characters. And one sort of mini-boss in the middle. He was about to get eaten at one point, and Lily was about to get, well, not quite eaten, but married to Satan or something.
But I don't see the same amount of struggle, I guess. Well, I guess it doesn't.
No, there isn't. That's
there's definitely not the same amount of struggle. She gets to be exempt from a lot of the sort of punishment that he faces. And that thing about him almost getting eaten, she does not have to use as much cleverness in her role as he has to employ.
Particularly in the director's cut. One of the first things you notice, he has to use his wiles against the ego of, what's it called, Meg. Yeah.
Well,
he has
that's a problem with cinema altogether, is that a woman only has to feel. A man has to have actions. So that's why we see actions directly against Jack, because he has to react to that. We don't really get to see the emotion that Jack experienced in this film. He's just always doing something. But whereas Lily, she gets to have an emotional reaction, which means that she doesn't ever directly deal with the consequences of her actions.
Well, and just to pull in all these points together, that's why I feel like the final scenes with Lily and Jack, where Jack is once again doing something to prove himself or to save her, or whatever, felt really flat. At that point in time, it should have been her doing something.
Yeah, it is true.
That's sort of like a true-to-life thing, though, in the way people are treated by the rest of society. Men do have to prove themselves in situations where women don't have to prove themselves as much or at all, and quite frequently they have to prove themselves in place of women.
Yeah, I think her suffering is more emotional, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I don't know if that really holds the same amount of weight, because you see that she's definitely losing her shit by the time she dances with the dress, and which is supposed to be symbolic of the struggle inside of herself.
Yeah, I was always kind of a little weirded out to see her. You know, she's running around in this underground, it's like a big dungeon, terribly scary place. She's racked with guilt. She's done terrible things, and there's been terrible consequences. And all of a sudden, right in the middle of it, ooh, something shiny. It's very princess typical.
Yeah, that was like, what?
You selfish little bitch!
I'm going to take a look at this wonderful necklace now. Yeah, that...
I was conflicted with that. Why would a dark prince who hates light have something so shiny?
Because he would know that a spoiled princess that was solipsistic and selfish and easily distracted would be distracted by it while running through his
Can I remind you all of the Goonies? If a pirate did that, you go, oh, fair enough, he's a pirate. That's what pirates do.
Yeah.
Give a princess a break every now and again.
Well, and he's the devil. It's his place to put temptation in her path, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I guess the main thrust of what I'm getting at is you have this scenario that was put into place by her behavior. It was her choice to touch the to break the laws of the forest, to touch the unicorn. So all of this is directly related to her. Yes, he made a mistake in actually showing the unicorn to her, because he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have trusted her. But she was the one who had to push it that one rapey step further than he wanted to go. And so it really, in my mind, she should have made the sacrifices. And I don't know, maybe I'm just not the right person to ask, but I don't think potentially risking having sex with darkness was that much of a frickin' sacrifice.
Well, I don't think Jack really understood what the consequences of showing her was. He probably thought it was innocent enough because he's done it, but didn't see that she would go that one step too far, that she wouldn't listen to him, because clearly he was teaching her stuff about how to talk to the animals and all of that, so he probably saw himself as being a mentor or a teacher. So it wasn't necessarily that he risked it for darkness. He didn't even know himself what would happen. He just knew you don't do it.
Yeah,
that's an act of acting on impulse, doing what one wants without considering the consequences, because it does show that he was her mentor. He was teaching her, which means they had historic relationship. They had plenty of time together for him to figure out that her actions would be either unpredictable or predictably selfish and impulsive.
Well, just to finish the thought that I was getting at, and that's an aside, pulling back to previous in the conversation. But what was it that she was really risking or sacrificing?
I don't know. I don't think she was. I don't think she really risked all that much aside from the possibility of dying out there in the fucking winter. Here's the thing, though. For the first time ever, I think, she goes without somebody being there to protect her or clean up her fucking messes for that brief moment that she's wandering around in the fucking storm. And she's all like freaking the fuck out and everything. But to be perfectly honest, I think in a way Jack had to be the one to suffer. But follow me on this. He had to be the one to suffer in this, because if this is all intentional, what this is saying is what tends to happen in society already, is that the men are the ones who end up having to be the ones to clean up all of the messes of stupid privileged bitches, if you think about it. Because that's kind of what happens, at least traditionally speaking, is that the girls, in that mindset, will flippantly do the kind of shit that Lily does. And then who ends up cleaning up the fucking mess? Guys do. So it's that kind of morality tale, that tale of giving you that grain of wisdom of what tends to happen with that kind of woman.
Well, there's two things competing here. There's describing reality, and also there's what could be better and more interesting. And in my opinion, it's more interesting to have the person who screwed up actually learn something and make the sacrifices and grow as a person than have a random, mentor figure step in. It's like you just set up the hero and then you decide, oh, nope, that's not the hero. Forget all this setup. Forget the fact that she screwed up and she has a lot of character growth to undergo. Nope, well, we'll just go and
she does grow, because think about what she realizes as a result of all this. She realizes that this entire time she has been a seducer, and that is her power. At first she didn't realize that this is what she was doing, that she was playing around with stuff and toying around with the emotions of others, and then she realizes that her beauty and these attributes have attracted the fucking Lord of Darkness.
Are you sure she didn't realize that?
I actually agree with both Allison and Rachel here, even though they seem a little bit conflicting. Allison's right that it would have been a better story if she learned or had penance for her consequences, but Rachel, I think, is very correct that this male power fantasy that Tom Cruise is playing is really an exemplification of male disposability, that he has to suffer in order for the world to come back in balance, even though she was the one that made a mistake.
Well,
And,
I'm-
and Ridley Scott was telling a traditional fairy tale, and that's what happens in all of the traditional fairy tales. You know, somebody fucks things up, and then some guy has to rise to the occasion and fix everything. But then again, there are some situations where a woman is made to suffer in traditional fairy tales on occasion. But a lot of times in the typical archetypal roles, what'll happen is woman fucks up, guy ends up having to save her.
Yeah, I want to revisit the seductiveness thing. I don't think Lily was innocent or ignorant of her seductiveness. I think she was fully aware that she had that ability and used it to her advantage, even
Yeah.
from the very beginning. I think the difference is that in the beginning she saw it as a toy and a tool, but throughout the movie she began to develop an understanding of it as a weapon, and towards the end she was able to use it as such. But she definitely knew the whole time that that's what she was doing, that she was using it to her advantage.
well,
And don't get me
here's a
started
question.
on dwarf disposability.
I think she got scared. She
It's
got
not
scared
just
the
men who have to
moment-
feel
Here's
the
a
man.
question directly related to Hannah's seduction comment. Did
Okay.
she actually do this? Did she actually seduce Darkness?
Yes.
Um,
Holy
no,
shit.
no, listen. Would you wait, Rachel? Wait. Before you jump on this, let me finish.
Okay.
Did she actually seduce Darkness because it was the good thing to do, or because it gave her a sense of power? Which would tie into the whole idea that there is a part of her now that is totally corrupted. Because, I mean, that has to give you a sense of power. You got the Lord of Darkness eating out of your hand, and you're just about to screw him.
Well, I don't think she was actually ready to screw him at all. I think that what
well,
she
she did. She
No,
screwed him.
Screw
She
him
screwed
over.
him
Oh,
royally.
yeah, oh, I thought you meant physically. Sorry, I meant.
No, I meant metaphorically. A metaphorical.
Okay, you metaphorically screwed.
him
Yes.
over.
We know where Rachel's mind's at.
Well, look at her damn dress. It's almost like a symbolic vagina. It's like one fucking V going straight down, pointing towards her vagina.
Well, yeah, but
And there's like no
Regardless-
bra. There is no bra.
okay, but regardless
I
of the
didn't
mechanics
notice
of her
that.
dress or the screwing, you know, she did screw him over. So in that moment when she seduced him, knowing that she was going to destroy him,
Mhm.
I mean, that must have been a rush of power for her. Now, did
You
she
could
do
see
that
she was
because
reveling in it.
I think the thing that
did she
scared
do
her,
that,
though-
Rachel? Did she do that because it was the right thing to do, or because it was her playing out her own power fantasy and destroying this guy?
Okay, I think that she actually did this to free the unicorn. I don't think it was anything more or anything less. But I think that the thing that scared her, the thing that actually changed about her, was the moment that when he said that you are my perfect bride, basically, she realized that she already had all of the attributes that Darkness favored, meaning that she was actually more suited for Darkness than Jack. I think that scared the shit out of her, and that is what she learned about herself. Instead of being this, instead of being a sweet girl, she is actually more suited for somebody like him than Jack, in comparison. Not necessarily suited.
I actually agree with what Rachel is saying because her manipulation was seen right from the beginning. However, I will disagree that her reason for trying to seduce Darkness was to try to save the unicorn, but after doing it, she became enveloped by Darkness for that brief moment. And this can be seen when she was lifting up the sword on the unicorn. And she took so long, and you might say, well, that was just to add dramatic effect, but I look at that as her really struggling with the idea, should I kill the unicorn or free it? And I think she was tempted by the evil, even though initially she did it as a ploy.
And this is another reason why I think that the movie should have ended thematically, dramatically, with her actually doing something to save Jack, to prove that she wasn't that evil person. I mean, not killing a unicorn is one thing. Freeing that's really obvious. But facing things like your using your seductive powers to get what you want in every situation. And yeah, she did it for good this time, and did it for good to cure what she had put in motion in the first place. But to recognize that, to a real, some sort of indication that she not only recognized the power of her seduction, her seductive power, but also recognized that she wouldn't go on to further hurt Jack with it. There needed to be something there. So she had to rise to that and actually prove something to Jack. And that wasn't there. Instead, it was just another banal, oh, I'll go and dive in and save the ring. And it felt flat. For me, it felt like bad writing. Yeah.
I don't think that it has to be one thing. People are complicated, and I don't think that people always have one singular reason for doing something big or something dramatic. And I think this is one of those situations. Maybe she saved the unicorn because she was aware that it was the right thing to do. Maybe she saved the unicorn because she wanted back the things that were lost when the unicorn was taken, and when the unicorn horn was taken. But I believe that she was completely reveling in her power of seduction by then. I don't think that it was an either-or situation. Either she was doing it because it was the right thing, or she was doing it because she was reveling in her power. I think she reveled in her power as she did it, partly because maybe it was the right thing, and partly because she wanted back what was taken away.
All right, Brian, I think you want to
All
take
right.
this to the next part, right?
Yeah. This is all good stuff, and these other readings are related anyway, so we'll probably revisit these themes. But I want to get through the other readings. So, Mad Cat, you have a reading from another perspective on the same film, so please take it away, sir.
If the movie was released today, either as a first release or instead a remake, it wouldn't be all that different. The movie is rather compatible given the feminist environment that movies seem to reside in today. Legend follows cliches that many movies do of the time and today. Males are known for their actions, while females are known for their emotions. We are meant to instantly like the female character and need to learn to trust the male character, even to the point of forgiving the female for being responsible for a unicorn dying. However, there would be a few changes, namely the responsibility of the world turning to darkness. In legend, Princess Lily is ultimately responsible for the death of the unicorn by being an immature girl that breaks the rules because she is a princess and can do whatever she wants. The film follows her as she must witness the consequences of her actions, while our male character must go and save her. Instead of the princess being responsible, the guilt of the movie would be to the male. The film would show the female as being strong and capable in all ways, and would warn Jack not to touch the unicorns, and he would do so as men are barbaric and naturally destructive. The fault of the world would go to hell and would be that of man. Her main interest in the story would likely be everyone telling her what to do with her life, from the peasant woman to darkness trying to marry her. From the peasant woman to darkness trying to get her to marry someone. Possibly that Jack would also want to marry her and be insistent on it. Her journey is being strong and not letting anyone control her life. Her seduction would also be seen as a virtue, as saying it is bad, and saying it is bad in itself is sexist. Likely that this lust of life is what champions over the evil of darkness, who had a lust of power. There are a few possible alternatives to this. Darkness would only be interested in raping innocent girls and would attempt to rape Lily. Jack dies at the end of the story, rescuing her. Likely he runs at Darkness, who stops himself from going into the void, and Darkness takes Jack with him and is presumed dead. Lily then doesn't have to decide if she should marry him, but she can weep for him like she did love him, allowing her to still be strong and saving face. A possible gender bend of a prince going to meet a wild girl in the forest that he befriended, and push her to show him the unicorns to which he decides to touch, then gets kidnapped, and the girl must rescue him. In this movie, more would be known of the wild forest girl about who she is and why she's in the forest. It's also possible that Lily, as a female, would get kidnapped, but escapes before joining the others to defeat darkness, with her having the final blow. An alternative to that point, Lily gets the unicorn horn and somehow takes the power of darkness and destroys El Diablo, reverses everything he did, and becomes the most powerful sorceress ever. She brings balance to the world that was caused by man's need of destruction. And lastly, Meg would have been a guy who eats people. Discuss.
I can see a possible modern affiliation for darkness bleeding into an alternate version of this, 50 Shades of Darkness, where she just throws Jack over and stays down there, and they have, a badly written BDSM relationship.
Oh yeah, but she would
Wow.
definitely be topping from the bottom there. She
What
would
the hell?
definitely be wearing the real horns in the relationship.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. That's... Wow.
I actually sort of like the one where the prince goes into the forest, and I think that actually I'd actually like to see that. So you have a prince, sort of a spoiled prince, going in the forest, meeting a wild girl, and he sort of pushes to let the wild girl let him touch the unicorns, and then all hell breaks loose, and then the wild girl has to go and fight through all of this shit to rescue him from the clutch of darkness. I think that would be
is
fun.
the moral center of the film focusing on the prince at that moment, and and you look back at the original, and is the moral center of the film on Lily? And most of the film it isn't. It's sort of on nature itself, but right at the very end of the film, it sort of goes back onto Lily. You got to find that ring for some fucking reason.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
why?
I think I see that's why that's pissing me
Please
off
tell
now.
me that later on we're going to talk about Tim Curry's abs, because I think...
Where
That
did
comes with
that come
Allison.
from? Where the hell did that come from?
Because you're already talking about 50 Shades of Darkness. Like,
It was the big horny elephant in the room, let's face it.
All right.
and all of the really fucked up sex jokes we can make about those horns.
Oh my god. Oh man. One
Well,
horn or
speaking
two.
of his great abs, what do you think of a gay scene between Jack and the Devil?
No!
I said this to
Allison would
Mike
like that.
earlier. I said this to Mike earlier. Tom Cruise is unslashable. You
But Tim
cannot
Curry-
fight him.
Right, this
Not
is
even in Top Gun. Not even in Top Gun.
This is the Unbreakable War meeting the irresistible object. It's Tim Curry and Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Surely-
the only movie that Tom Cruise becomes slashable in is this one, and that is because of Tom Curry. That's because Tom Curry has enough personality
Tim Curry.
to animate.
I would say
Tom.
it's because it's...
No, sorry, Tim Curry has enough personality to animate Tom from a popsicle person into something that's actually
That
could
answers that
possibly
good.
be
It's a bit like
desirable.
Polar Bear versus Tiger. Tim Curry beats Tom Cruise.
Tim Curry's magnetism beats Tom Cruise's pudding.
Whatever it is.
I wonder what we can say about what Freud would have to say about the fact that he got stabbed with a horn in the end.
Sometimes
wasn't
the
in his
unicorn
end.
horn is just a
Honestly.
unicorn horn.
It wasn't just a magical talisman that he wanted it for. It could really get in deep.
Oh. Oh, that's awful.
Okay, but back to the... Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, but let's envision this idea of the spoiled prince and this wild woman of the woods, and she has to fight to save him. I mean, would that even work
Oh, of course it would work.
Novel.
as an erotic novel? No, but I mean as a plot, not as something that necessarily has to involve sex. Okay.
Taking Rachel out of the picture with her dirty mind, I think it would work as a story, especially today, because first and foremost, we can easily say, well, it's men's desire and greed that destroys the world. but also the fact that, you know, he gets himself kidnapped. He's incapable of saving himself because he's a spoiled prince and gets everyone to do everything for him and needs other people to save him. But would probably be more seduced by the dark side because he's more prone to it because he's male.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Now, if we reverse the genders and we see how unlikable this character is, we actually see how unlikable Lily should be.
Oh my god.
And she is pretty freaking unlikable, actually. I wanted her to... I did not understand why she was, like, so... I mean, was she, like, drugged? Or something? Like, was she stoned through most of the... Why was she so out of it? Like, it just didn't make sense, really. I mean, and running through the woods, flailing about in a snowstorm, I thought that was just a princess power, that you don't die when you do that if you're a princess.
This
They
sounds
seem to
like
do that a lot.
It sounds like most Grimm tales so far. It's just that some trip that some kid has out in the woods that no one can explain. That's how all tradition works, you know. Or whatever.
It starts with some mushrooms.
But anyway, there's a queue building up in the chat. There's 3 people want to talk now.
Okay.
I think Brian's first. Brian,
Yes.
come on.
Oh, thank you, sir. The only thing I wanted to say was, first of all, shippers are going to ship. So if you don't think that there's a Tom Cruise Darkness fanfic or gay art or something somewhere,
I know there's out there.
you know it's out there. So people, like, they can surprise you with their tenacity to do that. But the other thing is, as far as, like, if you just flip the genders, whether or not it could work, I think that, you know, if I was to look at it objectively, of course I think it could work. But I don't think that people would do it in the way that Hollywood makes films today. You would have to make Jack into a person that, I mean, it would be easy to make him unlikable by making him make these, you know, bad choices if we flipped it and he was like the prince and he went and touched the unicorn he wasn't supposed to, and, you know, and Lily was like this, you know, I don't know, homeless, orphan, wild person that lived in the woods and frolicked and talked to animals. You would be able to do that, but to also make the Jack character, while he has to deal with the consequences of touching the unicorn, those consequences don't necessarily reflect directly on him. They actually, just as it did for Lily in the film, they actually affected everything else. So, like, the unicorn sort of, I don't know, falls into this, like, death-like state, and everything turns into winter, and, like, you know, everyone freezes, and so everything happens to everyone else except for her and, like, the most important characters. So while she experiences the consequences of those actions, they don't actually affect her directly. And then after that, she becomes the center of attention for a while too, because Jack's trying to rescue her, and Darkness falls in love with her, and so you would have to do the same thing with a gender reversed version, and I don't think people would go with that. I don't think that would be something that most producers in Hollywood would actually be down with, because you'd have to make the man a victim in that instance, even though it was a victim of his own, you know, foolishness. And if they did it, then they played it straight, and they just made it to where, you know, he just did all the same actions, it would be just as Allison said. Well, we would find him to be kind of, you know, kind of unlikable for what he did, but why wouldn't we then see the same thing with her, you know? So I think that was just my thoughts on that. I mean, I agree with Allison. She basically said mainly what I was thinking. And I think Rachel wants to say something.
Well, yeah, I wanted to speak to the situation you were saying about, you know, like, what the fuck was going on with Lily, like, this whole time. Well, it makes a lot of sense if you think in the mindset of, she is a spoiled brat who has never had to suffer anything. And then you put that person out in the fucking wilderness, knowing that they fucked up. I think that kind of works. Like, maybe the modern equivalent is some spoiled Tumblrette chick, and then you take her to a KKK rally. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
No, she'd probably be treated very well. I mean, they have this sort of Aryan goddess shit going on in the KKK.
They're like, oh my god, I can't believe you're saying things. Or no, wait, never mind. Take her just, like, anywhere. Oh my god, Oh my god, people are disagreeing with me. Holy shit.
Well, you know what? To be honest, I think that Tumblrinas would probably get along with the KKK because the KKK absolutely goddamn worships white women.
This is true. Now that you think about it, yeah.
And they probably would have a convert on their hands. Oh, shit. I probably gave the KKK some ideas.
What the fuck? Oh, no.
I want to revisit the whole gender flip thing with a minor point, and that being the pixie. If the whole story gets gender flipped and not just the main characters, the creepiness of the pixie's behavior toward Jack would become a lot more evident.
Oh, God. Yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah,
that was
she
so
wouldn't
fucking
be.
creepy.
She wouldn't be so much a pixie as a rapesy.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And she was like, anything's possible with a fairy's love. Okay, you're a magical stalker. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and demanding a kiss and acting all pissed off when she didn't get the kiss that she wanted. And, if that was a male character, people would realize how rapey that is.
Well,
Well,
not
wasn't it
kissing
pretty
her is
rapey
a
in the
form of
theatrical-
rape.
Yeah,
It's
apparently.
pretty rapey in the theatrical version where there's the moment where Jack lays Lily down and it's implied that they just fucked in the woods.
Well, is that really implied, or is this just Rachel vision?
I'm thinking, no, this is pretty fucking okay, what the hell else is he doing laying her damn ass down and then, like, they're all making out kind of shit? Like, what? I'm just saying, it's implied.
Okay.
Because then they shift over to a
princess
shot of the
makeup
sun.
session.
Kind of like in old-timey things, like they start making out and then they shift off to some other beautiful thing, like the moon or something.
Like they made fun of in the movie Top Secret, where they shift off to the fireplace at strategic moments, and then they roll in front of it.
That's-
All right. So,
All right.
was there another reading?
yes, I have mine. I knew what you guys were talking about, so I had to try to come at this from another angle. So I'm just making comparisons. Okay, so here we go. So the last time I saw Legend, I was probably about 13 years old. I guess I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention at that time either, because the themes surrounding purity, sex, virginity, and the duality of human nature went right over my head. I was too busy trying to comprehend the darkness costume. It was important to point out that the version I saw, and continue to see, is just the Tangerine Dream version, which leaves you with happy, happy, joy, joy feels at the end. That might be a part of the reason that the film's darker themes were also missed, because of its saccharine soundtrack. Now, I watched it again the other day, and there were a few revelations I had. These observations might be seen as looking far too much into things, but I thought that since there would be multiple write-ups, I would go for the most crazy, or try to. The most prominent were its striking parallels to the book of Genesis, at least the Adam and Eve story. Here we have Jack and Lily, two young people apparently in love. While the age of the characters isn't spoken of in the film, they appear to be in their teens. It is known that the actress that played Lily was 15 when they started filming. Of course, teens typically have raging hormones, but these somehow remain pure. Lily was some kind of royalty, although this is never explored in the version I saw, and would come down to this Garden of Eden-esque landscape to see Jack, a wilderness-loving scamp who lived among and spoke to animals, acrobatically swung from trees, and spent a large amount of his idle time squatting awkwardly. I found the latter to be funny since it was Tom Cruise. I suppose there is something romantic about a rich and high-status woman going out of her way into the wilds to see a boy who could only be seen as someone who represents her opposite, basically a homeless orphan who spends most of his time eating berries and living in nature. So you have these two kids in a pollen-filled paradise frolicking and telling each other that they love each other in new and inventive ways. Then Jack decides that one of these ways was to show Lily a unicorn. This is a big deal, like the next step. I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. Lily, much like Eve in the biblical tale, commits a forbidden act by touching the unicorn. Jack warns against it, even shouting at her to stop. But Lily doesn't listen. Just as eating from the tree of knowledge would change the biblical couple forever by teaching them the truth of good and evil, the touching of the unicorn, creatures said, By Jack, to only know love and joy would forever change the Eden-like allergy-inducing woodland of legend, setting in motion a series of events that would put the land into an eternal winter and causing what would appear to be the death of a unicorn. Lily and Jack are separated soon after the incident involving the unicorn happens. Goblins take the horn from the noble beast. I may be reading too much into this, but I found it interesting that the horn was cut off the male unicorn and not the female one. Could this have been a reference to male circumcision? Immediately after this happens, the unicorn falls into a death-like state and winter befalls them. After this, the goblins use the horn's magic to cause some mischief, showing the power of the horn as the purest part of the purest creature in all of legend. Lily finds the female unicorn, and in an attempt to make things right, she gets them both captured. Go Lily. Jack is awakened by elves and other sprightly creatures who are looking to solve the problem and decide Jack will be their champion, basically conscripting him. Apparently, Lily getting captured puts her in an advantageous position, as Darkness, the film's villain, is immediately smitten by her. It appears that Lily's beauty is such that even tyrannical, demonic overlords cannot resist her, though some say that his attraction to Lily is due to the sinful acts she committed that set things in motion. Darkness tempts Lily with clothing, food, and expensive gifts, basically symbols of status, and it would appear to have worked as well. In one shot, there is even a black apple on a silver platter, another reference to the forbidden fruit, perhaps? Lily appears to be enjoying the spoils of temptation until he reveals himself to be a monstrous being, that is, Darkness. But more than that, Darkness represents a creature of sexual potency. Since the times of ancient Mesopotamia, perhaps earlier, bulls and other horned creatures symbolize power, sex, and masculinity. This could also explain why demons and satyrs would also be seen as horned. I think this could be what Lily feared, her weakness to his presence. While Jack was a young lad who posed no immediate threat to Lily, both physically and visually, due to his own neotenous appearance, Darkness was the epitome of the bad boy. Lily may not have seen a person like this before, and it scared her, particularly that she might have even been attracted to him. It's worth mentioning that the reason Tim Curry was chosen to play Darkness was because Ridley Scott saw his performance in the Rocky Horror Picture Show and said he would be the perfect person to play the role of Darkness. Apparently, the sexual nature of the Darkness character was a conscious choice, and not simply because Curry had a voice that could melt steel beams, unlike jet fuel. There is more to the story. The heroes infiltrate the lair of Darkness and go on an elaborate plan to send the villain back to the pit from whence he came. Lily uses her feminine wiles and Darkness's feelings for her to put herself in a position to rescue the last unicorn, and a sprite tempts Jack with promises of becoming whoever he wants her to be for eternity, which Jack resists easily, earning her ire off and on throughout the film. There is even a great little scene with a swamp hag that threatens to eat Jack. The crone is only on screen for a short time, but she left an impression on me, as such evil female creatures appear so rarely in films today. At the end, in the version that I saw, the unicorn horn is reattached after Darkness's banishment to the void and everything goes back to normal. All in all, a decent film with some iconic moments, interesting music choices, I put that in quotes when I say that, and fantastic costume, makeup, and artistic design. One of the things that I really enjoyed was the tagline, which I believe sums everything up nicely. There is no good without evil, no love without hate, no innocence without lust. I am Darkness. Discuss.
Well, there's one point that I wanted to kind of discuss that kind of ties in with the last thing that you're talking about, where Gump says, trust with your heart, which was, it seems to be one of the many themes in the film. But then it's like a moment later he was saying, shoot her, shoot her. And it's like, you're kind of giving a mixed message here. Either trust with your heart or don't trust with your heart, but don't say both at the same time.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird.
It's that habit people have of giving advice that they can't follow themselves.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But that was interesting what you brought up, Brian. I don't think it was a metaphor for circumcision, more likely a metaphor for emasculation. They emasculated this stallion, and then the horn was given to Darkness. I'm not sure what was interesting for me in the director's cut is I don't know, did they actually mention the Mother of Darkness? Because in the theatrical cut he does mention the Mother of Darkness and fold me in your arms. And it seemed to change the emphasis to father in the director's cut. Did I pick that up right? Or Rachel, can you clarify that?
I thought it was a father of
No,
Father of
but
Darkness. That was the person he was talking to. See, I don't think it's actually implied that the thing about it is darkness. I think that we generally come away from that understanding that darkness is the equivalent of the unicorns. He is the embodiment of the devil on Earth, whereas the unicorns are the embodiment of God on Earth. So darkness himself, he's not the devil himself. The devil is in the fucking underworld. So the father is the one who's...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that initially in the theatrical release, the initial monologue by Darkness, and all of that other, I mean, it did, you know,
Yeah.
in the theatrical release, it was really poorly done, but whatever. He says, "Mother of Darkness, enfold me in your arms."
Mm.
And in the director's cut, I don't remember a reference to Mother of Darkness. It
Yeah,
was
Did
that's
you say Mother of
entirely.
Darkness? Go ahead, Rachel.
I think that was actually cut for the director's cut, and that's the reason why this is really two completely different films. In the theatrical release, you could actually say that there's a lot of God. I don't want to go too far off topic if I start getting into the differences between the two. But maybe someone should take this from me. But I think I don't recall Mother of Darkness and Fold Me in Your Arms, but.
My interpretation of that is basically it's the same being, and we can't really look at it as, you know, a man and woman came together and created darkness, but more of what he refers to Mother in the theatrical release and the director's cut as Father is probably like a entity of eternity that just kind of created darkness, because he says at the beginning of the film, at least in the director's cut, in the beginning there was only darkness and it was wonderful. So it may just be an illusion that there is some greater entity that directly created the unicorns and darkness.
Okay.
As I
In the
understand
chat,
it,
in the chat, Shade48611 put up the quote, "Mother Night, fold your dark arms around me." Is that what you're remembering, Allison?
Yeah, and that's from the theatrical release. So in the theatrical release, he was referring to the Mother of Darkness, but in the director's release, it became the Father of Darkness, and I found that interesting that they would codify darkness as masculine like that, because, you know, darkness is obviously masculine, and the Father of Darkness is also a masculine term rather than mother. And in fact, when I was listening to the conversation between Darkness and his so-called father, I was struck by the fact that the voice did not sound very masculine. It actually really reminded me, seemed more, I mean, it was creepy, but it was feminine creepy. And I wonder if they made that change for a particular reason. I think that's one change that I think they probably should have kept in the director's cut, consistent with the theatrical release, because it does, instead of being this evil masculine versus this, I guess, androgynous unicorn force, it became this, you know, evil feminine and evil masculine against positive feminine and positive masculine.
Well, if you think about it, all of the voices, and I'm just making this one point, all of like the weird magical voices of those who are considered to be the immortals in this, whether the Fae folk, well, usually even usually the masculine ones have almost an androgynous kind of voice, with the exception of Una, and what appeared to be dwarves. Like you had Gump that had a very sort of androgynous, weird, other earthly kind of voice. You also had Meg had a very sort of weird androgynous voice, and then you had the Father of Darkness had a same weird androgynous kind of voice.
Well, the thing about the quote, darkness and night are not necessarily interchangeable terms, and where he says, you know, he says, "Mother Night, fold me in your dark, or fold your dark arms around me," as opposed to speaking to his father. I think he's referring to referring to the fact that night is his shelter, and talking about night as being comforting and nurturing, and he's attributing the maternal qualities to it because of that.
Yeah, well, that's my only point was that it was more of an androgynous principle when he spoke of it in the feminine.
But I think it's actually another insertion of a stereotype.
Yeah.
You know, because you had his being mentioned in the chat that he's talking to the fire. The fire is giving him advice, and it's sort of implied that's maybe his father giving him advice. So you have the father nurturing by guiding him, and the mother nurturing him by being comforting and protective or enfolding him.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, shall we wrap it up then? What do you think, Brian?
I think that.
Aww.
Oh, Rachel, did you have something you
What
wanted?
was it? Okay, what does it say when even the Lord of Darkness wants consent?
Well, I mean that's true. And another thing is that like how she had Lily had so much power over where she walked into the into Darkness's lair as a prisoner, and he immediately fell in love with her, which is something that I mentioned in my reading. And I thought it was really interesting. Like, we're talking about what appeared to be an all-powerful being that was like, oh my God, I gotta make her mine, and I don't just want to take her. I want her to, like, love me for who I am, basically, like, accepting of who I am. Because otherwise, I mean, it's not like she could stop him if he wanted to take her. But he didn't want it that way. He wanted consent.
Well, initially he was talking to the Father of Darkness, and the Father said, "You have to make her one of our creatures. So you have to seduce her."
Am I the only one not seeing a Star Wars reference?
Well, how are you seeing a Star Wars reference?
By the Force.
Oh yeah.
All of your
Bring it to the dark side of the Force. And the Force binds and penetrates.
Oh,
I should have given Rachel an opening.
Well,
okay.
There was already
if you don't
one
want her
there.
to plunge in, don't spread them. Okay.
Okay, one last thing is really everything that Darkness ends up fucking saying throughout the entire film. One of the best lines ever is she's saying, "You've stolen my dreams away," and he's like, "Dreams, lady, are the regrets of maturity, and dreams are the way that I corrupt mankind." That was not the exact quote, but he's like, "That's how I enter in. That's how I fucking control everything. It's through the desires of people. That is the driving force behind corruption. Is that it starts out with a normal desire, and then you start asking, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to do the wrong thing to get that which you desire?"
Here's the thing. What is Lily blaming him for? Like, she's blaming him for taking her dreams away. What does that mean? I thought it was her fault that this happened. Is she projecting?
Yeah,
or is this one of those
definitely.
things where if Darkness only knew that what he was doing is wrong, he wouldn't do it? Like, just, don't teach Lily not to touch unicorns. Teach Darkness not to try to take them so that he can rule the universe from his shadowy throne.
Don't teach humans to have consciences. Just teach evil not to happen. Job done.
Evil not to
It's putting on display.
So then we must be victim shaming Lily then.
Yeah, no, don't teach princesses not to covet unicorns. Teach demonic entities not to want to plunge the world into darkness. I can see the posters now.
Oh god.
Although I am left wondering, how did he get her out of her clothes and put them back in? Did he get a free peek in between?
I don't think so, because she sort of melded with the dancing dress as a symbolic meaning of that she has become one with the darkness. I don't know if you could call that metaphorical rape, but I don't know. It's sort of interesting if you think about it. But I also like the idea where he says at the very end when he's about to die is like, "You think you've won, but I'm inside all of you already."
Is that why my ass hurt?
Psychological demon rape.
He's saying
I mean,
that
all of you, all of you.
the potential to be evil or to be dark is within us all. It's a very religious take on it. But to be honest, really, it's ultimately our decisions. It's our actions that decide who we are and our morality.
Although technically, Darkness didn't die; he just went into the void. So,
So he's still there, watching and waiting inside of you.
And it's interesting the way you point out her dress at the end was like a sort of big black vagina. And,
Yeah.
And the guy's horns are sort of like a cleft phallus, which can't actually go in something that shape, which just goes to show you when evil people try to get together, they'll just get very frustrated with life and try to bring eternal darkness to the universe. So it's a lesson for everyone. The more you know.
Horns were not compatible with her cleavage.
Yes. Unless you go sideways. Oh heavens!
I like that the thing that defeated him was getting penetrated by the unicorn horn. Take that as you will. Just saying.
By a male unicorn horn too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After you've emasculated the unicorn, and then you penetrate darkness
with the horn.
his
well,
symbolic.
to be fair, Darkness would need to turn around and bend over for it to be a good penetration.
Well, no, it's more like more like a whole new hole penetration.
I mean, he could have gotten
Rip them
stabbed
in
with a
one.
sword, but apparently.
Well, yeah, but that actually is interesting. And so, I guess it would be a symbolic castration of darkness, or no,
Symbolic
emasculation.
emasculation of darkness by being penetrated by, and they were very careful to mention that it was the stallion's horn. Also, truthfully, it's like you want to go out there where we are.
Yeah,
It's,
that's.
Well, the stallion horn is thicker, so.
Is it?
Oh my! I don't know. I don't fucking know. We've descended into
you believe
darkness,
anything
into
I
this
say?
weird void.
How many unicorn horns are you guys feeling?
Yeah, like how many have you sampled?
How many have you seen?
Matt?
Oh my god!
Wouldn't you like to know?
Historically, there are, if you go back through some of the old unicorn legends, and I used to read this stuff, and I don't actually have this stuff I used to read anymore, but unicorn legends do have sexual overtones out the wazoo, and a lot of it is, there's different ones too. Some of them are more mundane, and
Unicorns
some
have
of
as
them are
many
more...
horns as you can fit on a horse.
Alton has a haiku.
So what you're saying is you read unicorn porn.
No.
Oh no.
Unicorn mythology and unicorn legends and so on. Nothing that had any detail in it. But there were old legends where the only thing that could defeat the bloodthirsty man-eating unicorn was a virgin. That would, the unicorn would be tamed by the virgin's beauty, and then the other villagers could kill the unicorn and things like that.
I wanted to say one last thing because I did make a lot of biblical reference in my reading, and I think one of the main reasons why I did was, I mean, for me the parallels were really obvious, but the other thing is that Ridley Scott, he has a bit of a propensity for putting either, sort of like biblical allusions in his work, or just straight up making films with a religious tone, like straight out of...
Or implied rape.
Yeah, like his last Kingdom of Heaven, and he made the Noah movie, and I think he just came out with Exodus, so clearly there's something of interest to him, and I don't think it's really a surprise. I mean, even Alien is about, impregnating, and, there's some, I think that there's some, if you, look at it closely, you can find, some references to biblical stuff in there, too. So that was the only thing I wanted to add, is that it is sort of like par for the course for Ridley Scott, as much as I like him. But Allison has one final reading that she made. She wanted to contribute to the thing, so I think this is sort of like her slam poetry with what she was thinking, I guess, when she saw Legend. So Allison,
Oh God! Thank you for attributing all that to me, Brian. Thinking. No. Yes. Okay. So I did it in haiku format. Is that the correct pronunciation? I assume not, because I'm the one that pronounced it.
No, that's right.
Okay,
It's right.
great. I'm off on the right foot.
Go.
All right. On the sexiness of Tim Curry. Horns, horns, horns. Horns, 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 horns. The end.
So in other words, horns.
Yes, horns. Yeah, let's just, horns.
Yep.
That was about Tim Curry's voice, wasn't it?
Yes, of course it was about his voice.
Horns.
His glorious voice.
Abs.
His
Horns.
horns.
And then chin. Like, did you see his fucking chin in that makeup? Oh my God.
The man is like, he could probably satisfy that creature like 5 women at once. All of his various appendages.
That is a chin man.
I don't want to think. See, now I'm thinking about his big red cock. This is not for us.
Hey, did you see his fingers? That's like the size of a regular man's cock.
I don't think so. Did you see the size of him? I would imagine proportionate.
So, I guess we're going to wrap it up then.
Yeah, where do we go
I
from
would hope
here?
so. I mean, you're going to need a hefty bag.
Well, no, just like the Father of Darkness wants consent, I guess Darkness wants safe sex. So you gotta wrap him in latex first. That's going to be a lot of latex. All right.
Darkness is
Technically, his entire body is wrapped in latex. I mean, if you do Curry, I mean, all of that makeup is latex.
Yeah,
Now
that's
we're off
true.
to bleach our brains.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, right.
We knew this was gonna
You think
happen.
all of us are off to bleach our brains? I don't think so. I think this is a moment for some of us that we never want it to end. I'm not saying me. I'm not pointing to any fingers.
Orgasm is like that, Allison.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know what orgasm is. Teach me, oh
No.
wise Rachel's.
I was just
Senpai.
kidding.
All right. No, it's
Keep
just
your
not-
chin up, people.
I'm on a roll tonight.
Yeah, a roll, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
We
your
all
chin
got
up.
something. Keep your chin
Or a
up.
horn.
Or your
All right,
horn.
so I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. Is there any
Yeah.
last final words or anything that we need to say before we leave about
Horns.
anything that's going on besides horns and abs and
And voice.
Chin.
dick pins?
So what are the words that are off the
Tim
list
Curry is
now?
awesome.
Horns, abs, chin.
Oh, you know what? I got something. What happened to Tim Curry? I mean, what I mean is, there was there was a weird gap in time, like after Legend and like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he was like this thin, kind of like stage hair metal dude, like with it in terms of his build, and then he became like the guy from The Shadow and Clue. Like, where he became, like, I mean, what happened in there? Did he just, like, gain a lot of weight? I don't know what happened. It's like 2 different Currys. Does
Well,
anyone
when
know?
you eat a lot of food, you start to gain weight.
Well, I know
He
that.
had great legs. I mean, he had great legs in Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm not even gonna lie. He's got better legs than me. Or he
It's
did.
probably like a rock star. I mean, he became so popular with Rocky Horror and so many of these other movies that he probably just started to enjoy the high life and didn't really try to work on his physique, but more just have a party all the time. And that eventually catches up with people.
Well, the
probably
other thing, just to say, the other thing that happens is people, actors lose and gain weight for movie parts as well, to fit the type of character that they're playing. So it may be that in some of those he may have lost or gained weight to be in character for some of his roles.
Oh, somebody in the chat, Edmund Dantes, thank you for the awesome reference to the book. What's it called? Count of Monte Cristo. He said he heard that Tim Curry gained weight to get away from the whole Rocky Horror thing. So maybe he was like starting to feel like he was becoming typecast, and he put on some weight. Because I mean,
Probably
after
also
that,
grow the beard as well.
yeah, because like I mean, I still like him a lot as an actor. It doesn't matter to me. I just was wondering because it seemed like there was a there's like a definite shift in his appearance and then the kind of work that he did. I mean, it was always like funny and shit, and I think he's
Quite a lot of men are abnormally thin in their early 20s, like regardless of what they eat, and then they just get fat after that. Like,
So what's going to happen to
it's not only not abnormal, it's kind of completely normal.
So Russell Brand is going to look really different in like 10 years, and he's going to be doing different shit.
Well, he's a fucking smackhead.
I kind of want to see a fat Russell Brand. A part of me does. I don't know.
I don't want to see it.
Well, that's also kind of what happened with Tom Levine, I think his name is, from Silence of the Lamb. He played the serial killer in that. And it's like, if you look at him then and then look at him now, say in the show Monk, he looks completely different. So it looks like he also tried to get away from that role as much as possible, especially in growing a mustache, which he's now known for.
Would you fuck me?
I'd fuck me hard.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we should totally wrap it up now, but I was just curious about that. I'm trying to think of a really funny name for Russell Brand, but like for fat Russell Brand, but I can't think of it right now.
I don't know.
I sense it's the time.
David Futrell?
Oh, no, it is definitely the time. It is definitely the time. The time has come.
Nick Frost?
The time has come.
Oh, Lord. No.
No, we're not going there. Friends, no. I'm putting some caltrops down on that one. The time has come to shill, as it were.
Aww. Time has come
To
to
talk
war,
of-
said.
Yes,
Me?
to talk of other things. If you like this show, if you like what we talk about, if you like the approach we take, please consider donating to us. Our Patreon can be found at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. And throw a few shekels in the hat. It's always appreciated. And also, if you want to volunteer, we're always in the market for artists, animators, people who do stuff with webinators, editors, stuff like that. If you got a skill set, consider dropping us a line at honeybadgersradio@gmail.com. And I'll hand it back to you, Brian, to and stop the shilling.
Okay,
If you want.
shilling complete. And that is Honey Badgers plural radio.com.
Yeah,
Right?
but Patreon is www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, do that.
Wait. Oh,
Wait.
nope, the shilling is not complete. Oh, yes. I know I have to do this, or I will face the wrath of the patrons. We have a Steam group, which can be found on the Steam website at Honey Badger Radio. Gamers with Byte is the community name. Honey Badger Radio, Gamers with Byte. And please do join up. We also have a Honey Badger Minecraft server. If you want to take part, it's $1 an episode to a minimum of 5 episodes is the pledge on Patreon to take part in on the Honey Badger Minecraft thing that they have set up. And once again, the patron is patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. And I think I've done everything that I've been told to do. So.
All right. And one other thing, too. Again, I said this in the beginning, but I'll say it again. On my page, Good Guy Comics, there is a forum link, so feel free to go there. I'm gonna share the Honey Badger Radio discussions for the Nerdcast and the Badger Pod Gamergate stuff, so we can talk about it there if we're not talking about it on the YouTube channel and whatever else. There's lots of other things that we can discuss too, like nerdy things, serious things, whatever. So just feel free to check that out. And I guess that's it. So thank you for joining us for the show. Thank you to all of the people on the panel for talking about horns and abs. And and we'll see you guys next week.
In 3 shakes of a badger's tail.
Yes, 3
Do
shakes.
badgers have tails?
Why not 4 shakes?